Hey, this is
I'm
Mary.
sorry.
I can't hear anything.
Hold on, please. Yeah, hold on, please. I just realized I was muted. I called the meeting at 7:33. I'm calling the meeting at 7:33. The first order of business is approval of the minutes of March 2025. Does anyone have any comments or additions? And please unmute yourself if you do. I have a motion to approve the minutes. Second, any discussion, comments? Anyone? Okay, minutes are approved as existing, as written. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? All right, they're approved as written, unanimously. Next thing on the agenda is a budget update and expenses. I'll give that to Andrea.
Yep, so the April report is our budget, our only current expenditures for process this month was the clerk fees at $111. However, we do have encumbered $4,060 for the remaining CSA agreement that is currently being processed. And then we received a late printing invoice, hence why we were circulating better ways to process our invoices. So we have a late fee with that for $1641.89. So we have those monies encumbered. Our remaining balance without the encumbrances is $54,261.55. And with the encumbrances, it's $48,559.66. So we're about halfway through our budget. And we have a bunch of other things to process. Budget will be available for the next month's report.
Thank you, Andrea.
Sure. No, that's it. All I want to say. Any questions? Okay, good.
Okay. Thank you.
Andrea, this is Mary. I just have one question. And during the March meeting, you had presented your screen and you were going to share that with everyone, send that out, but I haven't received it. The breakdown of.
Sent it out.
Yeah.
Yep, I sent it out during the meeting and I sent it to you again today in response to your email. So if you didn't get it, let me know. But it's not on the agenda to discuss tonight, so I wasn't going to pursue that.
Okay, thank you. I'll check my
Today.
email. I'll check my email after and get back to
I
you.
sent it
Thank
to you
you.
again. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For the chairman's report. CSA update, a meeting with, we have the revisions by our town attorney that were requested by the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. They were forwarded to the beach associations for review and approval. We have a meeting tomorrow at 3:00 to discuss their comments and to also add additional verbiage that protects actually the beach associations, especially Old Colony, on who is responsible for the shared sewer note and how it's going to be repaid. So that is in its works. I would imagine we would have comments back to the attorneys by Friday, and hopefully have a final CSA for signing shortly thereafter. Sewer project status. So I wasn't planning on sharing this, but maybe I can bring it up for members that aren't here. I figured everyone would be here tonight. This is this is the best accounting that I can give for the combined sewer, shared infrastructure, and internal infrastructure for Old Line. And a lot of people have sewer project status right now is basically, we have to go back out to referendum. Old Line WPCA has to go out for referendum to request to spend more, not necessarily borrow more, but spend more. We have to have the CSA signed also, and then there's some other minor things. Martha gave me a list right before the meeting. I haven't had a chance to review it, but I don't think those are the two major things. So I want to go over this in detail, because I want everyone to be clear on the costs associated with this project. The design stage for Woodward and Curran was $615,000. The construction was the construction bid was $8,551,950, and that was our low bidder. Contingency for change orders is $427,600. I would be shocked if we spent anything near that. There's just not that much that could be a change order on our internal infrastructure. And engineering services, that is to inspect and administer the contract, is $855,000. So a total cost for the internal infrastructure is $10,449,550. The state is going to, the CWF grant is 25%, and the state is going to give a forgivable loan of 25%. So our actual loan value would be 50% of the $10,449,550, which would be $5,224,775,000. The shared infrastructure, the forced main and bioxide bid came in at $9,893,723. The shared trunk came in at $5,680,740. And that is the second bidder on that project. The low bid on that project was 3.8 million, and they have declined to perform the work. So they lose their bid bond, but we have to, the second bidder has agreed to do the project. The pump station came in at $4,096,770 for a total of $19,671 and $671,233. Again, CWF grants 25%, a CWF forgivable loan is 25%, bringing the total construction costs of that project to $9,835,615.50. We have a 5% contingency for change orders on the 19 million. I see I made a mistake here. The number should have carried through.
25 and 25.
Well, no, you don't get, yes, I would have gotten, yes, 25. No. Yes, I would have done 25 and 25 for that. So that should be 490,000 or something. I'll change it here. It's just not let me. Maybe it's because it's being shown. Can't edit it.
It's all grayed out.
Um. So, that would bring that number, it's 5% contingency on that. So that would bring that number to $983,561.65. Half of that would be, about 492,000. And design and contract administration is $1,616,773. Half of that is $808,386.50. So the total shared infrastructure costs, which would be the $19,671,233 plus the $983 plus the $16,773 would be $22,271,567.65. Half of that is $11,135,783.83. 29.7% of that, which is our share of the shared infrastructure, is $3,307,327.80. So the referendum and loan repayment. So total internal infrastructure is $10,449,550. The total cost of shared infrastructure is $3,307,327.80 for a total referendum request of $13,756,877.80. I would suggest that we may round that up to $14 million. The total loan, anticipated loan, is $8,532,102.80. A yearly payment at 2% per year to DEEP would be $521,795.41. Divided by EDUs, I'm going off the one that was submitted where we had 269. The yearly cost per EDU would be $1,939.76. I got some of this information this morning, actually this afternoon, early this afternoon. I wasn't planning on having a discussion on this, but time is of the essence. And so I would like a motion to amend the agenda to, I'll do this under new business. Those are the figures for the revised referendum amount. Our referendum right now is 9.5 million. So, which authorize, so the referendum, we have to get authorization to spend this money regardless of how much we're going to actually borrow. So even though our final loan value is $1 million less than our approved referendum, the costs of the project are higher than our referendum by about 4.2 million. So we will have to go back out and request additional funds to spend that, not additional funds. We have to request approval from the town to be able to spend that money, even though by the time we're done, the loan value would be less than $9.5 million.
Can I ask a?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, but shouldn't the referendum be on the right-hand side, all the black bolded numbers added up?
No.
Why not?
Because the $9,835,000 that's bolded, that is 50%. of that number, we only owe 29.7%.
Right, right. I get
Right,
it.
so the
Which is
total,
the 3
the 3 million, yes.
307, blah, blah.
Right, so yeah, the internal infrastructure of 5,224,775 in the 29.7% of the shared infrastructure of 3,307 does equal 8. It's added up down below. It equals 8,530,000.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
Steve, do you have a spreadsheet you can send out to everyone?
should be
Yeah.
posted online.
I'm not seeing it. I'm just seeing you. I'm saying,
Oh, because I didn't share it. Yeah, I'll send it out. It's passed around here to everyone to review.
Oh, I think I get it.
Right, because some of it, I mean, so the way the contracts are written is Old Colony is funding the complete infrastructure project. They're administrating that contract.
Mhm.
They've signed on the dotted line. They've borrowed basically $40 million for their internal and shared infrastructure. When that project is fully complete and it goes to loan, DEP is going to take 29.7% of that loan and combine it with our internal infrastructure for us to pay. This has been, we had a meeting with bond counsel as well as town attorney. They understand it. They agree that this is the correct way of accounting for it. And so this is
Great.
how it goes. I think that's the high end. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things in here that are in a contract that don't necessarily get paid out. We have stuff in there for rock that we don't anticipate hitting any rock, but there's a number, it's a placeholder in case there is rock. So they might have put 200 expected yards at $200, it's $40,000. If we don't hit any rock, we don't spend that money. It's just written back in a change order. I don't think there are many change order opportunities on this project because of the fact that there's no real infrastructure in the ground there. So the likelihood of hitting something like a gas line or a water line is that's not already indicated on the plans is very, very slim. So I don't think we are going to have much in change orders. There's some savings on the shared infrastructure, and there could be some substantial savings on a proposed change to how the pipe near wells is confined. As much as what I've seen, like $440 million linear foot. We have 2,000 feet of that pipe, so it could be quite a bit. But it has to go through deep and then Department of Health. But it's been proposed, and I think they'll be working on that.
Definitely that one beach.
It's for any pipe that's within any transmission pipe that's within 775 feet of a well. Right now, it's double lined. So when it crosses, you put one pipe inside another pipe.
Wasn't that Miami mostly though?
It's Miami, we have close to 2,000 feet of our pipe that has to follow the same thing. So it's not a minor savings by any means. I think over the whole project, it could be, $4 or $5 million savings. So Miami Beach, Fuss and O'Neill looked into it specifically for Miami Beach because they have the most, and they can't get Connecticut water because they're under a moratorium about adding more houses. So they're stuck. They have wells that Connecticut water's under moratorium not to add more houses because they can't get enough water there to begin with. So Miami Beach is stuck with those wells. They can't abandon them. And so Fuss and O'Neill's looking for different alternate ways. And if it's approved, I think that we would probably want to do the same thing, to elicit cost savings.
So if they're under a moratorium and there's a half a dozen or a dozen houses not hooked up to them in this project, what happens to those outliers other than Miami Beach?
They have to keep their wells.
And then they're gonna have to pay for this linear, that's kind of like,
Well,
Putting a gun to their head.
it doesn't quite seem fair.
well, I don't think that we've decided that.
Mhm.
I don't think we haven't specified that if you don't abandon your well. Obviously, if you have a choice to abandon it, that may be a different story, but if you have to keep your well, you have to keep your well. I don't know, I don't personally know if they're under moratorium based on, where, they can't add curb stop. I mean, those houses that Connecticut Water passed probably have a curb stop in front of them, in which case they're probably counted as a hookup, even though they're not hooked up to the house.
Right.
So, they probably could hook up if they wanted to.
You know when the last time that was issued?
I know they're under it now. Miami Beach has been complaining about it. They won't. I don't know. I mean, it's 2 years ago, Connecticut Water was bringing in tanker trucks of water to fill up.
No, I understand
They
that.
were.
I was wondering with their new regulation, if that's gonna.
Yeah. Trust me,
That's the
especially
reason why
4th of July week.
add Miami Beach to it was an idiotic thing from the Department of Health, plain and simple. There wasn't enough water. That well was not drilled to have, it was drilled for Soundview, Old Colony, and Old Lime Shores, not Beach Farms, not Hawks Nest, and now Miami Beach.
Yeah. So I would think that unless they get another water source, they're gonna be hard pressed to add more homes. Now, they could maybe hook up to an existing system that they have. I don't know, their closest system is Old Saybrook, I think. Should be pretty expensive.
That would be cost, that's the reason why Connecticut Water came and drilled the wells, because we had wells.
Right. So, I mean, you say it's cost prohibitive, but if they could hook up everyone in town, it's probably not cost prohibitive. But, I mean, I would think it's cost prohibitive right now. You would think it's cost prohibitive to run a natural gas line from Texas to Maine, but there are some that exist.
Except Old Lime.
It goes by Martville. But anyway, so those are the numbers. I under new business, I think I would like to add a vote to modify the agenda to add a vote to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that we go out for referendum for $14 million to get the ball rolling.
Since you mentioned Miami Beach question, are they going back out to bid for the sewer?
That's my understanding. They're trying to get it out before the end of April.
And then what happened to Old Lime Shores?
Old Lime Shores is
They're not voting.
doing their due diligence, and they're going to vote on increasing their they don't call it a referendum, they call it a resolution. Same thing, resolution amount to a certain figure that I don't know. And I don't know why they felt it wasn't wiser to bid the job so they knew exactly how much they would have to do that, but they've decided not to. And so they're going to have their resolution, I think, May 14th. And if it passes, they'll go out to bid, but I mean.
Isn't the clock ticking on these? other two?
It's causing some problems, but I believe that if Miami Beach is successful in getting their bid out, Deep is going to award all three and definitely have Old Lime Shores bid that work or do something else. I don't think that Old Lime Shores is, if the three beach associates, if the three WPCAs are ready to go, I don't think Old Lime Shores is going to be a factor in holding the project up.
So they could be out.
What's
I doubt they'll
what's
be
the
out.
difference in the accounting? I mean, the original was at 9.5. We're spending, we gotta go to referendum 14. But we're actually gonna spend less.
Yeah, so
Is it?
the difference is the other 25%
Alright.
that they gave us.
Okay, got
All
it.
right.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, because it would have been unaffordable otherwise.
Got it.
Um,
Does the lack of having Miami did affect these numbers right now? Or is this?
well,
This is an old colony and Soundview,
no, it's all four. Our share is 29.7%.
yeah, but if we don't know what the bid's going to be for 2 out of the 4.
Well, we know what Old Colony and Oline WPCA know all of the costs for their internal and shared infrastructure. The only thing we don't know is internal Miami Beach and internal Oline Shores, which doesn't affect us at all.
I want to ask a question, but I don't want it in the minutes. So
That's a tough one.
we know that 100% of the beach communities are taxpayers. What percentage of them vote in Old Line?
I don't know.
Because this referendum is an Old Line vote.
Correct.
Well, those people don't know, they're not gonna pay, so they would for the sewer.
No, you didn't hear my question. The referendum goes to the town of Old Line for a vote.
Correct.
Only people that are registered voters in Old Line
No, that's.
vote.
No,
Oh, wait.
office, that's for office. But if you own property, you can vote. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that if we do go out to referendum, we should send a postcard out to the town, telling them what the issue is and
Explaining.
explaining it.
You know,
So anyway, that is about the status of the sewer project. We're waiting for Miami Beach. We're waiting for Old Shores. The clock is ticking.
this has been the most dramatic yo-yo project I've ever been part of. One day it's that, one day it's that, one day it's that, one day it's that.
Well, it's still on, as far as we're concerned. We're going through our due diligence and hopefully we'll have everything in place to award our contract up to deep, several weeks before our referendum, so that if the referendum is passed, they can just sign and approve it.
So just along that thought, if I may, I think what Dennis was trying to indicate is, let's say the Old Lyme Shores bails out, or Miami Beach when their bids come in. And then there's just the two. Doesn't that change the percentage of what the people in Soundview and Area B have to pay for the shared infrastructure? Wouldn't we then be at 50% versus 29.7? That's my first question, which I think has an obvious answer to it already. But my other question is, I don't know that any of the bids have been vetted and yet. So we don't know which vendor is going to do which part of the shared infrastructure, or even which vendor is going to do Old Lyme, I mean, Soundview and Area B, unless you have an update on that. I haven't seen that. We don't know yet either about the bids. We know that the bids came in for the DOT work and that we will be responsible for part of that, but I don't think those bids have been awarded either yet. Is that correct or wrong?
The DOT work is being administered by BL Engineering. Most likely, they have not awarded that contract. But as far as what you're saying, the bidders have been vetted, Mary. I'm using numbers that I'm 99% confident of the bids that are the bidders that will be awarded the contract. Like I said, I've used the shared trunk as the second bidder because I know the first bidder was not, was not willing to undertake that project due to a mistake in his bid. And the second bidder said they would. So, and that second bidder is not going to be kicked out by Fuss O'Neill. They're an excellent contractor. It's Baltazar. They won't get kicked out. So the numbers I've used are, these are bid numbers. They're numbers that I believe the contracts will be written for when and if they are. So to say that we don't know, isn't true. We do know. As far as I can tell, these are the numbers. If they change, they change it. I'll have to change my numbers. But as far as I know, all the bidders have basically been vetted. They have not been awarded the contract because DEP hasn't authorized award of the contract. But these will be the engineer's recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Oh, as far as it's not obvious, by the way, if it would be 50% or not. We have a contract with four WPCAs have a contract that delineate responsibilities to each other. There's no back out clause, meaning we don't want to bid it, we don't owe the money. I don't know how a beach association would pay for infrastructure if they're not using it. But that is not what the contract says. The contract says that each entity is responsible for this amount of work being done. But it also is contingent upon DEP approval. And DEP approval may say 2 people, it becomes unaffordable and we may not award any of it. There's a whole bunch of working parts here that you should think about prior to making a comment that it's obvious that 50-50 would be what would happen. I don't know what would happen, but there's more than just simple math in this equation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Going on to my next item, it's protocol for members. And I'm doing this because maybe it wasn't very clear on what's expected as far as members are concerned. So I want to review some of this. All members have sworn to uphold the state laws of Connecticut when you gave an oath to join this commission. As far as I can tell, I'm running this commission in accordance with state law, meaning that DEP has asked us to find a way of handling our pollution problem down, has rejected most alternate methods, and has indicated that sewers are the cheapest viable option.
You have a consent order.
We don't have consent
Well, it
order.
doesn't,
We do not have a consent order.
Then administrative.
We have an administrative order, which is slightly different. If we stop going down this path, we will get a consent order. But right now we don't have a consent order to install sewers. We have an administrative order that says as long as we continue working towards installing sewers or handling our pollution problem, which again, they've declined all other methods based on a number of reasons. They feel that sewers are the cheapest. So
are all entities in this project under an administrative?
no,
order?
the 3 other entities are under consent.
Oh,
Okay.
A mandate.
that's where my confusion was.
Yeah, it was Yes, it occurred actually at an administration that I didn't know. I always thought that we were under consent order also. We're under administrative order. So anyway, I expect, the members on this board to work towards putting in sewers. Now, you can have questions about how we do it, how we go about it, but you join the group saying that you would support state laws, and we're following state law. So, I guess I expect everyone to support, furthering sewers. The other thing is that only the chairman is supposed to speak to outside agencies that we do business with. Only I, as chairman, and represent the WPCA in media or with engineers or with lawyers or with anyone else. You're not, as a member, supposed to call up our engineers, our consultants, and request information. That's not how committees are run. If you want that information, you can ask me for it. We could discuss if I say, no, I don't think that's relevant, but you can't go directly, or you're not supposed to go directly to outside agencies asking for whatever you want. Someone actually contacted Woodward and Curran about the DOT bridge project and asked a bunch of questions that Woodward and Curran didn't bid the project. Secondly, they didn't even design that work. It was Fuss and O'Neill that designed the infrastructure. So you're putting in our engineer at a spot where they have no answer for you, and they shouldn't answer. If it came to me, I would say that there are a number of things. The money that's included in the bridge work to do, so the DOT bridge contractor is going to put in our section of pipe in their area of responsibility, and the work eliminated. That was bid in the DOT contract. We've accounted for that. As a matter of fact, I believe there's a net gain, not a net loss from that contract, based on other information that I have. That the actual cost to, when all is said and done, for the shared infrastructure will be lower than what's estimated now. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm asking everyone to not go outside of the defined chain of communication and do whatever they want. I mean, it's just not, it's not how you run committees. So, as far as the WPCA's responsibility, I think I pretty much gave that first. We're responsible to adhere to state law. So that's all I have for the chairman's report. Are there any other questions or comments?
I do know that this project has taken the majority of our time, but the town WPCA is also committed to sewer avoidance in many of the other areas. So I don't want folks to misunderstand what you just said, because I know that you're upholding that part of us.
Yes, well, yes, that's correct. I mean, we are responsible,
Yeah,
for
I
this,
wanted to
but
make
we
sure
are
that-
also
Yeah,
responsible as an ordinance.
right. You're directing your comments related to this project. So I want to make sure people know that you support sewer avoidance too, as appropriate to the charge of our committee.
Thank you. Yes, you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, when I joined, I was trying
Yeah.
to fight
Right.
sewers until it
We've
became
been here a
obvious
while.
that it wasn't. Is
So
there-
I'd like to, if I could speak to that for a moment. When the selectmen put me and Dennis and I on this committee, they didn't say to us we had to support sewers. They said we had to represent Soundview in the best interest of Soundview and Area B. That was specific charge to Dennis and to me and to the town. And, that's why we also agreed, and you agreed to form a subcommittee to look at alternatives to sewers, which we did and seemed to not go very far with that. So I guess I don't absolutely agree still that the only path is sewers. I think that there should be an alternative if the project is deemed unaffordable. Where do we go from there? So we should have that in our back pocket, and it should still be a consideration. The other thing I'd like to say is that, we were put on this committee, as I said, to do a good job for the people in our community specifically. And to do that, we've asked several questions and waited and waited and waited for answers. And after a while, we can't really do our job without getting those answers. And I think you're aware of that in most of the questions, but, we can talk offline on that or set up a meeting next week with Jim and Martha to discuss that avenue further. We did do our best to create an EDU, which, we also then, I guess, went out of bounds and got the report from Karen that this committee, the WPCA, paid for back in 2020. And we got the report, a second report from an authorized rep, someone who was authorized and could do assessments. Dennis and I, and all of us, we're amateurs in this game. We did what we could. We incorporated what everyone asked us to. But in the end, I doubt it will stand up when it comes to a court case. I think that we should have had that information sooner. It would have saved us and this committee and all of us a great deal of time if we had had the Karen report, which has so much valuable information in it. And I gave that to you, Steve, to distribute to everyone. There's also the other report that we gave you. So you have 2 certified assessors recommending what should have been done. And we've come up with our own solutions since we didn't have that information. But I'm going to stress again that we're amateurs. And my recommendation is for this board to go back and reconsider the 2 documents that were presented and paid for by the town in regard to special assessments for sewers. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll address that. So is there any public comment? I see a whole bunch of people online.
Yes,
Jim?
I'd like to ask a couple questions. What is the status of the sewer ordinance currently? And are we gonna get that straightened out before we go to referendum?
Is
Did
that
you
a
hear
comment?
Steve?
I
No,
heard
the
it.
question. What's the status?
Sometimes we don't answer. Sometimes we don't answer, we've worked on it and it's almost ready to go out. We don't need a sewer ordinance prior to referendum. We don't need a sewer ordinance until the system becomes live. But that's on my yearly goal here is to finish the ordinance and get it voted on.
Second question, so you've outlined the costs for our internal and for our shared. And if you could forward that to us, that'd be great, because I got most of it, but I kind of lost you at the end. So if I could just get those numbers from you. And that leaves us with our connection fee to East Lyme, our connection fee to New London. Those are one-time fees. Where do those fit in? How do they fit in our calculations?
Yeah.
I mean, where
Well,
are they included?
I have that. Jim, we voted on this, years ago as a WPCA, that we're going to include those fees as part of a user fee on a yearly basis, because that's how it's paid. That's how it's paid. It's paid on a yearly basis, financed by City of New London at 2.75%. That's what we intended on doing as a WPCA years ago. We never included those tie-in fees as part of it. As far as I'm aware of, Rich Prendergast got council opinion on that, and he said that is a viable user fee. You do not have to include it as part, doesn't have to be paid up front. So it can be paid as a user fee, or it could be paid in the assessment. Some WPCA's are going to include it in their assessment. We, as a WPCA, decided not to.
Will that be included in any calculation on affordability, or is it factored out?
As far as I'm aware, it's not even, it's does not have to be included in the affordability.
Third question, did you make any progress with getting the archaeological survey from Woodward and Curran that we talked about?
The what?
The archaeological survey from Woodward and Curran? Woodward and
Yeah,
Curran
as a
had,
matter of fact, yeah, Woodward and Curran forwarded that to Fuss and O'Neill. That was that.
Okay.
I've gotten everything. I forwarded everything to Fuss and O'Neill, and they were looking at it. As far as Fuss and O'Neill was concerned, those were not areas of interest, but they did take another look at it. I can see if that was followed up on or not, but that information was forwarded. They had an archaeologist look at those areas, so we'll obviously do whatever the state or a private archaeologist indicates. I mean, we have archaeology fees included in Woodward and Curran's price for contract administration. So it's just a matter of making sure that they're done.
I wasn't questioning their integrity or whether they were going to adhere to it, but I'd like to see the report. I think we talked about that in the beginning, and you said you would get a copy of that report to us. That which was forwarded to Fuss and O'Neill.
I don't, all right, I'll have to see if there's an actual report. I think they just go out and look at areas that could be of interest. I'm not sure there has to be something written. I'll get you whatever Woodward and Curran has. Jason, I think is on the meeting. So, Jason, you want to chime in here?
Yes, there is a report, so I can forward that to you, Steve. Yeah, it dates back to, I think, 2020, but obviously not much has changed archaeologically since then. So,
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Public comment?
Yes,
Yes,
Paula Malillo.
Paul Mielo?
Paula Malillo, 15
Yeah.
and 21 Portland Avenue. I just want
Okay.
to say that Mary and Dennis are speaking on behalf of some View and Area B residents, as Mary stated a few minutes ago. We as a community have given them permission and support in doing what is best for us. So I would urge you to please listen to them, look at the reports, look at the research that they have done, and help them to find another solution to sewers. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other public comment? Okay, not hearing any, that ends public comment. We'll go to old business. I handed out, EDU calculations, that Mary and Dennis forwarded. I printed them up, handed them out. I forwarded them twice, so everyone should be familiar with these. I believe we did not have many problems with any of the residential properties. It was commercial, multi-use or mixed use, and empty lots that we wanted to address.
Before you do that, Steve, I
Yes.
want to pass my letter to members of this commission. And I'm gonna speak about it.
No, I, this isn't,
This is my speech today
Oh,
and my
you-
letter. to
You
the
can,
commission.
you can say whatever you want,
I wanna
Dimitri, but
pass.
you can't pass that around. I'm sorry.
How come?
Because
I
it's not in the agenda here that,
It's not agenda, it's my letter. to the
okay, so
commission.
you
I
have,
didn't wanna,
this is
didn't wanna
not,
email. To
I
everybody.
wish you would have emailed me and I could have passed that around if I felt it was,
This is why I didn't do it.
okay, well, I mean, now
It's not your decision. I'm a
Well,
member
it
for
is,
27 years
I
in
understand.
this,
I
in
will
this
not,
commission.
I will not allow that letter to be passed around. You can say it, but I can't have you pass it around. It's not on the agenda.
This
It's
is,
not under
this
correspondence.
is
It's
what
nowhere.
you're saying is not legal. I can pass letter what I'm gonna speak about to the commission. You cannot stop me doing it.
I can,
No, you cannot.
Dimitri,
You
please.
cannot. You're
It is inappropriate.
making your own law.
No,
You cannot do that.
it is inappropriate.
And I want that to have in a meeting.
There's nothing in here that says, look, see, under new business, chairman's response to Mary Daly's email, I put that in there because I wanted to talk about it. If you wanted to talk about this on a personal level,
I'm gonna talk about.
all right,
it.
you can talk about it, but you can't pass a letter out from you personally to our members.
Members, is that correct, what
I
she's saying?
think under the Freedom of Information Act, I think he's right. That it's gotta be.
Of course I'm right.
It has to be on the agenda.
No,
Steve is correct.
I cannot pass my letter to members, I'm a member of commission.
Not during the meeting. You have to approach him prior to the meeting.
For it to
Okay,
go,
I'm gonna read my letter.
you can read it.
Okay, I'm gonna read my letter, and I want this letter to be in the minutes.
Okay, I will take, after you read it, I will take it so that Erica can put it in the meeting.
Because, okay, I'm gonna speak about your acting. Because you're changing your mind, you're saying one thing and after you change to another thing.
Is this following the agenda? Are we on?
We are on discussion of EDU calculations for mixed use, commercial and vacant properties. Can we have a motion to accept the EDU calculations as presented? And then we can discuss anything that we want to change, but we should really, someone should make a motion to accept the EDU calculations as presented.
I will not make a motion as far as Mary and I are concerned, there's too many areas of, doubt in, Woodward and Curran's layout. In the aspect of, there's only 2 beaches on this thing right now, there's not 4. And we gave you the EDU calculations that we did. And we've been on this thing since day one. And we're tired. This is, you can do what you want with that EDU calculation, but I will not make a motion.
So are you going to, we only can talk about the EDUs for this section?
You can talk, you can.
Are you
it's
saying
the
there's?
report is here, you can talk as much as you want about it.
Okay. How do I?
So should I chime in or wait? I don't know what's the right procedure.
I think I'd like to wait. If no one's going to motion to, well, it doesn't say a motion, so yeah, you can go ahead, chime in.
Me? Okay.
It's
So
your
as we
EDU
said-
system.
Thank you. So as we said before, we're amateurs. We did the best we could. We incorporated what you, Steve, and everybody else suggested to us. And we looked at it again. And then after we got the report from Karen and the other report from the other certified assessor, we don't think it'll stand up in court. If it comes to that, we think that you will be facing major lawsuits. So I can't even say, after all the work we've done, all the research we've done, that that's the correct way to go. I think that this committee should take a pause. on EDUs and look at what the professionals provided you first and then come back. That's my opinion. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So could you explain a little more clearly your rationale behind that, Mary?
Oh, because we finally got the report. We've been asking for it, and we were finally able to go out and get the report from Karen that was commissioned under Prendergast for, I guess, $25,000 back in 2020. And that has some really valuable information in it that would have been so useful 5 or 6 months ago when we started working on this.
303 pages.
So we've read it thoroughly, and we also looked at the other assessor's report that was provided to the WPCA, and we think they both have valid points that are missing. I mean, we did what you guys suggested and what we thought was right. But again, we're going to say we're amateurs, and these are the
Okay.
professionals.
So this is on the discussion for an agenda item. Could you highlight some of the differences?
Well, for one thing, for the single family properties, Karen suggests that the betterment fee is strictly related to what it would cost to replace that septic system minus the value of the septic system and minus the cost to connect the homeowner's cost. So for me, the quote that I got to connect from my house to the curb, which is only 50 feet and without obstructions, my written quote was $8,960. And that came, well, I won't say where it came from, but I can provide it to you if you like. So there's other things in there that we did not consider because, again, we're amateurs. And then he does break down differently assessments versus for the condo associations, assessments for the mixed properties and for commercial and for the vacant lots. We still have outstanding questions. We've spent considerable time working with our Melinda at the assessor's office, who's been wonderful to us, providing as much information as she could in regard to the vacant lots and what can be considered buildable later and what cannot. And there are still some outstanding questions she cannot answer because they have to go through zoning. So we have a call out to Paul Orzel to get clarification on those lots. And they are significant, and it does make a significant difference in the long run. And I look at each one of those questions as a possible lawsuit against this committee, the people in it, and the town. And so for that reason, I think with prudence, this committee needs to take a breath and read those reports that were provided to you by experts. Thank you.
So where do you think we will be as you're reading through those reports and this proposal, and as for a timeline to come up with a workable EDU number?
Call a special meeting. Steve has both reports. He can get them out to you tomorrow. I guess I can't get them out to you. So he can get them out to you tomorrow. Take 2 weeks, read them, think about them, come back in 2 weeks and talk about them. But going into approval or something that is written by us without input from experts, it's just, no, I can't support it. And I've spent considerable time on developing an EDU calculations.
We appreciate that, and I know this commission has done over the years a lot of work on the EDUs also.
Right.
It would be very helpful to highlight points of where you think there's a discrepancy or room for improvement, or where you think there's a vulnerability in this assessment. If you could, if the task force could do that, it would help us move forward.
So I think
Jason's on the phone with us, and Mary and I just on 2 streets found 28 discrepancies. Either there wasn't a lateral, the lateral was put on somebody else's property and missed a building altogether. I mean, these are charges that the residents have to bear. If the lateral is missing and it's going down the street, what's it going to cost them the day that they have to put in the lateral?
Just the same as anyone else.
But there's a cost associated with this stuff. Now, if it was 2 or 3.
What, do you have an engineering degree, Dennis?
No, I don't. I have common sense.
All right, so you don't have an engineering degree.
No.
But you
What
said
does that
our
deal with?
our engineers have missed 20 in 2 streets,
28.
It's,
28
no,
in 2 streets.
it's true, Steve. If you look at the diagrams, they're not that hard to read. And you can see where the laterals are missing for certain properties or where they're in the wrong place for certain properties. I mean, in particular, in regard to the vacant lots, which isn't the fault of Woodward and Kern or whoever drew up those diagrams. It's really because we just came to the table as a committee in the last 2 months to talk about the vacant lots. So some of them have laterals where there shouldn't be, some don't have laterals where there should be. Those are changes that need to be done and I think should be addressed before you start going out. I mean, we know that there's problems there. But again, no, he doesn't have an engineering degree and I don't have a degree in assessments and neither does any of us really. And that's why, like
All
you're saying,
volunteers. We're all volunteers, Mary.
yes, we get,
So,
we're all volunteers.
yeah.
We get that. So that's why we're saying we should review what the experts are saying and have been saying to you.
Okay, so regardless, so the goal of our collective decision-making was to have a standardized formula for all of the like properties, single family, mixed use, commercial, that regardless of the size or regardless of whether the assessor feels something should be treated differently, everything is the same. Everything is the same, so that you run a formula and this is your assessment. That is much easier to defend as a WPCA than having special circumstances strewn throughout 100 homes. Then it's just a matter of whatever we feel like charging. This way, if you fit into the formula, that's your assessment. We haven't looked at your property and said, well, that's a 6,000 square foot home with 2 bedrooms, you get charged more. Everyone didn't like Frank's calculation method, but he was trying to incorporate a lot of what the assessors were saying. He did take out a baseline where the baseline was this, which would cost a minimum to put in a septic system. He did have square footage. He did that. No one seemed to like it. As a matter of fact, you guys came on board and said you did not want to use that EDU system. So the goal was to have a formula that would treat all the like properties, all the properties in the same category, the same, regardless of what they are, because it's far easier to defend that than to have exceptions and outliers throughout your whole system. So those are assessors.
We're not talking about exceptions here. We're talking about following what assessors who are licensed in this business are recommending to you, not what we as amateurs came up with. We're not talking about exceptions for one property or this property or the other property. Not at all. Excuse me.
Keep hearing about assessors. What does an assessor have to do with any of this?
Rich had requested an assessor to see basically if the project would be affordable. That was the reason for the report, to determine whether after the sewers go in, will the assessment value pay for the project? I mean, if we have to pay, if the assessment was $40,000 a person, that may have made it unaffordable, in which case we could go back to the DEP and say, based on this, but the assessment was just an idea of how much the property value was going to increase. We didn't ask him to determine an EDU calculation. It's up to us as a WPCA to develop how we determine EDUs. It's not up to an assessor or anyone else.
So to me, it's.
But he did give you that report. I have to excuse myself. I'm
do
sorry, I
something
have to
else.
go. I have a 4-year-old here that I have to put to bed now, so I think you've heard what I had to say, and I'm sorry, I have to excuse myself.
John, what the appraisals wanted to quantify is the cost benefit analysis. Without the cost benefit analysis, if the assessment is so high, it cannot pass state statute. State statute says that the cost benefit analysis can't be egregious. Okay, and the only way you can do that is by the appraisal of the properties. Or property or properties. And that's what Rich was trying to glean, was that. And the second appraisal was for that also.
Well, the second appraisal, however, wasn't done by Old Line.
No,
It was done by concerned citizens of Soundview, correct?
exactly
Okay.
paid for by residents of Sound.
And what was the purpose of that if you already had one?
We didn't have one because we asked one for Rich for the Karen report and we never got it. We asked back last September for the Karen report and you never gave it to us. So it's something that we wanted to look at what they had to say and what our guy had.
I don't see the relevancy between the two.
In terms of the two documents.
So
Hold on, Rob.
to Steve's point though, it doesn't have to do with the EDU calculation.
No, it does not have to do
Because the EDU calculation is how we're gonna apply everything equally to all the properties.
exactly.
What the properties are worth is not.
But you're not talking about work, you're talking about benefit assessment. And that's what the state statute goes after. If when you're going to court and I go in and I say,
Yeah.
my house is this, the benefit for me to have sewers over septic is, this is what the town is saying, and the state will say, that's too high, too low, you're right, you're okay. And that's the reason why it was done.
So Dennis, I'm a little confused at the conversation today. I'm hearing a lot of court being thrown around. I'm not hearing outcomes of projects and I'm not hearing a summary report. Like it's kind of intangible stuff that's being said here tonight. I mean, I need something concrete.
You have our thing.
I have this, but
You have our,
but why isn't this acceptable anymore? Like what?
I didn't say it wasn't acceptable.
Mm.
I said.
You
I
won't,
was
you won't
looking to make-
endorse it. You
You
won't,
said
you
you
won't
would.
endorse it.
So what are we doing with this?
You're not supporting your calculations.
You can take that and you can sit there and lean through that thing. And it is what it is. That's what Mary and I worked on.
Okay, so, and I hear you got new information and I hear you're both upset about it. How is that, what's the next step to marry this new information and this hard work, which is like our third go around at EDUs, and try to come up with something reasonable and acceptable?
I
What's the
think
next step?
Mary's suggestion of looking at the Karen report, looking at the NADU report, and just looking at it and reading through it and understanding what a professional is saying about Soundview and your miscellaneous area B. These are professionals.
And they're about.
Well,
the
our
assessment.
profession, our profession, current, basically said that a residential property will go up between 10 and 12% after sewer. So based on that, if you go to my calculations somewhere here, if you go to my calculations,
Excuse me, who
Nine-
said go up by 10%?
who is this?
This is Bill Randazzo.
Okay, Bill, you're a guest in this meeting. Please don't chime in. Listen, right, he's not.
Really?
Yeah, please don't chime in.
Really?
Really.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a commission meeting. It's only open to members. You're welcome to listen. You're welcome to make public comment when public comment is available, but that's the extent of it. I'm sorry I wasn't clear on that.
I was here during the public comment, but you brought up other stuff after that. And that's why
I asked if there was, I'm sorry, I asked if there was public comment. I asked twice if there were any others. No one had it, and so that's it. I'm gonna have to mute you now. So the yearly cost per EDU, well,
Remember when we started, that was $1,200.
yes, and
It's now almost 2,000.
it's almost 2,000. It wasn't 1,200, but it was close. I think it was 1,356, but there were items that I was not aware of as far as the internal infrastructure, as well as we didn't bid it. We hadn't bid anything. One of the reasons to bid it was to find out where the numbers came in. They came in higher than most anticipated. 8,532,102 divided by 269. All right, so an EDU is $31,000. Financed over 20 years equals about $40,000. So if you have one EDU, if your house is worth $250,000, that would cover that assessed value at 12%. There probably are quite a few houses that hit that benchmark of $250,000 down at the beach. So I don't think that we're off in our calculations as far as going above the 10 to 12% value of a home. How you get there, you can do it a number of ways, Dennis. But we tried to have a formula that would be easily understandable and consistent throughout the categories of properties that we have.
You have the formula. All you need is somebody to make a motion. I'm just not going to be the one to do it.
Okay, I have a couple questions. The vacant lots have been brought up a lot of times.
Right.
Mary alluded to a state statute that said something about having to be hooked up for sewers. Can you give me more information about that?
If the vacant lot has to be buildable in order for it to have a lateral to do
Okay.
that. Down in Soundview, there's two areas.
Mhm.
There's the upper end of Soundview, okay, and the lower end of Soundview is SBVD. Separate zone altogether.
Right,
And within that SBVD, you've got commercial, you've got mixed use, and you've got vacant land. So that's where the problem is, where we're saying we can't go to the assessor because she can't give a definitive answer, because then Eric Knapp is the one who makes that decision, whether that land is buildable or not. And if it's not buildable, then it should be out of the equation for
Correct, but we decided as a group that anything over 5,000 feet is buildable.
anything over 5,000.
Right.
Well, guess what? There's not very many that are over 5,000.
Okay, but whatever,
That's what, that's.
the deed will say if it's a buildable
Exactly.
lot or not.
right,
But you have to get zoning's approval to go through that.
Right,
so there is such a thing as back assessment. If we don't assess a property because it's non-buildable and zoning says it is buildable, we're allowed to assess that.
Zoning
Yes.
says buildable if you have 10,000 square feet
Right.
in
That's-
R10 zone or.
We're in an R10.
there's a lot of lots that might be grandfathered in over the years.
No, there's
There's
no
no
lots.
grandfather.
Okay, so what about,
I'm on a 5,000 square foot lot.
yes,
Mary is on a 10,000 square foot lot.
okay,
Okay. She has the land available to do it. Not, 90%, I'd say, maybe 85% of Soundview is on 5,000 square foot lot.
Right, very condensed,
Very condensed,
very densely populated.
right?
So are you saying, since you brought it up, this other lot that's 10,000 square feet?
Right. That's a buildable lot.
That's a buildable lot.
Right.
Does she get the option? Or can she be denied a hookup? Does she get
No,
the option of an assessment or can she
Yeah.
be denied? Tell me about this law.
She can, be assessed and have a lateral put in and be like the rest of the neighborhood. It's the houses that are 5,000 square foot lots, whether they're vacant or not, doesn't qualify. We cannot, the town has the ordinance that it's a 10,000 square foot minimum. We got grandfathered in at 5,000 square foot,
Okay,
okay? And that I can't do anything to my property but go up if I get variances and everything else.
okay, so out of these 8, did I see 8 buildable lots? How many of those fit non-variances? Like how many are those all 10,000 square feet or bigger?
You have to look at, we have one on Portland Avenue. There's a house there and he owns the land next to it. He doesn't know if he wants to put a house there or keep it vacant land.
But it doesn't matter.
But if he elects not to have a house there, it does matter.
The lot, if it's buildable and it's a
But
separate,
it's
and
not
it's a separate,
subdivided.
and it's a separate lot. Well, then
That's the reason why these things have to go through zoning. Zoning is the only one that can make that determination.
Well, that's one. What about the
If
other?
it changes hands, that's a different story.
right, I mean,
You have to.
You can count on one hand the number of sales by long-standing residents. And I'm talking long-standing.
all right, so 0.23 acre is over 10,000 feet.
It's about 11,000.
So that one would get assessed. That would get assessed in EDU. I don't understand. All the ones here that you have been assessed properly.
Yeah. And what did?
It doesn't reduce the amount. You've included those above 10,000 square feet. You have excluded those below 10,000 square feet. If they are able to build on them, we are allowed to go back and assess them.
Then there has to be, the owner has to go through zoning, get a determination whether or not that he can build on that lot. And zoning does not allow 5,000 square foot lots anymore.
Okay, I don't know what are you arguing about?
Another thing that, another thing,
I don't understand what you're arguing.
So you say, and you'll get assessed later, but right now it doesn't matter.
well, there is some empty lots have a parking. Okay, and they don't wanna turn them into the building. And you assess them, and the time they build it, sewer, and they don't use it.
Yeah, but that's not our prerogative. Our prerogative, I mean, our mission is if you have a buildable lot, a lot defined as 10,000 square feet or above, and our line goes by, you're gonna get a lateral because that's a buildable lot. Whether you want to do a house on that is beside the point. That land increases in value immensely because now they can build up as large a house as zoning will allow them to, and their sewage goes to New London. They don't have to even have space for a septic system.
Sometimes you have to check if this lot is located in an area where it's less than, more than 100 feet from the brook.
Right.
Because if you are 50 feet from the brook, you have 20,000 square feet, you cannot build.
I,
How
I,
did you do it?
I don't have to do that.
Are there any- Yes,
Yeah, there's one, I
Swan,
don't know if that's a brook. but
there's Swan's like right, the pump house is going.
Vacant lots identified easily.
Yeah,
Okay.
We usually try to,
the second page,
what we did is we used addresses.
it's the last page, actually.
So I just wanted to see these exceptions.
There are no exceptions,
Well, what he's saying. I'm trying to.
right? I don't see any exception here. You've accounted for lots above 10,000 square feet and have not included lots below.
Right, as vacant, for vacant land.
Okay, so I would have to say that those are included. I find no problem with that.
So this last page, it says mixed use. These are the vacant lots right here.
Mixed use is,
No.
Eight-
commercial and residential.
What page are we on?
This is my last page. Maybe I,
Or maybe they're printed different. directly.
no, it shouldn't be.
I'm just trying to hear what you're saying. Oh, here we go. Okay, it's written down. Okay. So these are the EDUs. So
I just have to say that this, I think people are trying to make this convoluted. This process is to determine how much an EDU, a household or piece of real estate has down at the beach. I don't care what the assessed value is really. I want this to be as fair as possible to as many people as possible. If it goes above the assessed value, then that's something else. But our goal isn't to try to confine houses into a category where the appraised value falls within what we think the appraiser would say the value increased. The goal is to find the most equitable way of assigning costs to the project via EDUs. So whether the assessed value doesn't meet the requirement or does, really shouldn't determine how fair the calculations are. It doesn't matter how much the job costs in determining how fair the formula is to allocate expenses to the people using it. I don't understand the disconnect in that.
I would agree with it, just,
yeah,
if you're using a report that was for one thing to try to come up, doesn't have any impact on the EDU.
well, the only,
Calculation,
yeah.
it could come up later, down the road, if there's a fight over the appraised value, but that's down,
Correct.
so it's just throwing mud into the water. It's the way I look at it. And I'm one of the newer people on it, it's just throwing, it's just mud in the water.
there
By using old reports that really aren't intended for this purpose.
What's your question?
So as I'm looking at this last page, because you mentioned the vacant lot was a problem, I
It's
am,
an area of concern.
okay, I heard that. And a lot of these you put zeros because they're not buildable. There is one that you're assigning one EDU and then there's a question mark, are you building condos? So what are you gonna do with that lot? Assess it post planned? So like, you're gonna assess it for one, but if a plan comes in and they have more EDUs, then they get reassessed.
We discussed that before on 50.
Correct. They get reassessed.
I understand that, but the question we were asked to do is to identify vacant lots. And we identified vacant lots,
Yeah.
and we went a little bit farther to see if they were buildable lots.
Good
Okay,
idea.
that's
And
good.
if they're
Good.
buildable lots, the problem is that we now have to incorporate another commission to give their thought process of whether or not these nine
No,
lots are.
no, we don't.
No, as far as we were concerned, doing this report,
In due diligence, I hear what you did.
Why do we have to,
because you were doing it, we were doing it.
They might be-
Exactly.
no, if they're over 10,000 square feet, then we have to assume they're buildable.
Right, but the person may say, I'm never gonna.
I don't care what they say though. The land, right, whatever their intent is, whatever their intent doesn't,
Yeah, because you don't have a T.
no, they're gonna have Ts. Whatever their intent is should not concern us. If it's a buildable lot, it should be assessed 1 EDU. So really, this should be 9, because you don't carry a 1 on the half an acre of land there. 290 Shore Road. That should be at least a 1, because why isn't that?
Steve, do you know if those lots are considered by the engineers to put pipe to that property? Do you know that?
I don't know that, but it doesn't matter, because the engineers will be requested to ensure. So, by the way, so everyone's clear, it's been agreed to and in the contract that the engineer will go to each house and ask where they want their lateral installed.
Well, I went to.
onto their property. I'm sorry?
I went to Woodward and Curtis.
Okay,
and
but-
no one,
In the contract documents, the contract is responsible to determine where the owner wants to have their lateral installed.
Yeah.
All right, so it's not gonna be installed on the side of the house when their lateral comes out the other side, or they can pick wherever they want. It doesn't matter. So those are based off of the best available information, which is basically septic systems on file in the town hall. So they've developed their drawings based on what information they could gather from town hall. As a contractor, we want to make sure that the lateral meets the owner's needs. It's installed somewhere on that property line. It's installed. It doesn't matter to a contractor where it's installed. It just has
it
to be
matters
installed.
where the lateral goes versus where the pipe coming from the building is.
Correct. I'm saying, Dennis, it doesn't matter to the contractor where they install it on the property. 1 foot off the property, or 1 foot into the property, from south to north, or 10 feet. They know that they have to put a lateral somewhere in that house. And they go ahead and they ask these questions, and it's actually a form that they have to fill out for everyone. I requested that as a request from Jim Lampos 6 months ago. I requested Woodward and Kern to ensure that the contractor has to go and verify the position of the lateral before it's placed. Okay, so whether they're drawn incorrectly or not, I doubt if 28 are incorrect.
Steve, I looked at 2 of the 3 streets, and the 3rd street, I was sicker than a dog and didn't come down here to do it.
Okay, and the square feet are in a different unit of measure, correct? You have to multiply those by 1,000?
No, by 40,
These square feet,
44, those are, I think the square foot should be acres. The square foot should be acre, so 0.23 times 44 is 9,400, I think.
43,560.
43,560, thank you.
That was already convincing.
alright, so, because the square feet on the other ones are actually,
Actual square foot.
Yeah.
That's, yes.
so if you converted these square feet, do any of these allow more than 1 building on that lot?
No.
So none of these, so how can
The only,
you,
the only.
how can you
ones that-
put get something that we can have one building?
I can name a condo on the corner of Swan Avenue and Bocce Lane that's got 3 houses on it on one side and 2 on the other side.
Yeah, but that's grandfathered in.
Exactly, but we don't know what 58 does, we're not gonna,
But
the gentleman that was on the telephone before, Bill Randazzo,
Mhm.
he has a plan in place for his property. But
Right,
we don't.
and
we
that's,
don't know.
and that's all fine, right, we don't know, but we do know is that it's buildable.
That it's
So it should be
buildable.
assessed at least,
Buildable, and
at
that-
least one, at least one
At
unit,
least,
at least one.
We're not-
but are any of these ability to have more than one? That are only getting assessed one, these empty lots.
Well, following the formula, they would get assessed based on what they construct.
Right.
Right.
So looking after the,
Bedroom, 6 bedroom.
Right, it's an add-on, it's an add-on to the original assessment.
I would like to
That's the-
propose,
Hold on, please, can we recognize Dimitri, please?
I would like to propose one thing,
Yeah.
make it for sure, with empty lots. Why don't we show those empty lots to the zoning? And get from them a response that those lots are buildable, then in the future, people will not have problems. That those lots, you come, they charge me for sewer and you don't let me put a house on it. Because there is many things, could be piece of land, 5,000, 10,000 square feet, and it has very narrow land,
Mhm.
could be different.
Yeah.
Could be just very close to the neighbor from both sides.
Yeah.
So you cannot just vote today for that reason and then make it law. Because if you voted it, this is the law.
Well, then that
Well,
would be a hardship.
I would say that there is a, an appeals process that we have that's written in our sewer ordinance, I believe, but which hasn't been, completed yet, but we would follow that if these people can show that their lot is not buildable.
There is no appeal process. This is the end of the story.
There is an
Appeal
appeal,
process,
there's an appeal, you as an individual could come to the WPCA and appeal your assessments based on whatever reasoning that you feel. Someone else that has a 10,000 square foot lot that zoning says can't be buildable, they could come and say, this is not a buildable lot. We would have to review it and vote whether we believe that it's not buildable or not.
you can appeal zoning, but you cannot appeal
Yes, you
WPCA.
You
can.
can.
Yes,
No.
you can. Yes,
Ah.
it's state statute. You
I
can.
know that because I've been on a commission for 27 years.
This one,
Yes.
yeah.
And I know I went through many hearings
For yourself.
in different towns too.
Okay, it is appealable.
Who are you gonna be appealing? Who?
You appeal,
There is a zoning board of appeals we have, but we don't have appeals.
you appeal to the WPCA. And if that doesn't work, there's another mechanism where you go into arbitration. There is, Dimitri, believe me. We have followed basically the state statute for appeals.
We don't have appeals. Town doesn't have appeals for WPCA.
We don't have it now, but we're gonna have. it.
Yeah,
Well, it's in our ordinance that hasn't been approved yet, but
Right.
yes, we are gonna have it.
that's not a republic or democracy.
There should be a group of people on appeals.
It's
No,
all spelled out in the ordinance.
Yeah,
No,
it's
no,
Spelled out who would be on.
It's spelled out. It's very specific. It's very specific, Dimitri.
ordinance hasn't been approved yet. Well, we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
It's a chicken and egg thing. yeah.
Right,
I
right.
think we're way ahead of ourselves.
We don't have the
But
idea.
we're governed by the.
I don't even
state.
have this done yet.
We're governed by a much bigger body.
I need a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the EDU calculation as presented by Dennis and Eric.
Is there a second? All right. Is there discussion?
Discussion, these, this you mentioned.
Right. I say we add at least one for that.
290 Shore Road, I guess.
Yes. We have to include that as one.
And if there's any lots Well, we already talked about that. If there's any lots in here that can put in more than one structure, they'll be picked up in the, they'll get
Future assessment.
reassessed in
Yeah.
future assessments.
Only two down there that are in that vein. And, the old El Morocco and the property next door and the property in back. And, 58.
Yeah,
Okay.
So,
remember auctions there.
No, mine's 30. The community center's 39.
Did that got assessed, right?
What, the community center?
that would bring it up to 270 with that one property. But I'm still I'm still a little,
Is that, what was our original?
it was up to 269. We added one property, so that would be 270,
And that's what,
which is Woodward and Curran had indicated.
that was the target that we had, you know?
Yep.
And we tried to look at all the information we got.
This is really difficult. I know we've taken a lot of passes at this. There is no one size fits all template that anyone in the state has used, so we're doing the best we can.
The only thing I can equate this to is taking a street in Philadelphia. And that's what, you know, this is not as bad as Philadelphia, but it's close.
And that it's so congested and.
It's congested.
densely populated.
And you can reach out. I can't reach the Jim Lampos's house, but I mean, it's that kind of situation.
So, Dimitri, would you like to read us your letter?
Yeah. This one.
Is this about ADUs?
I think so.
Now, can I pass my?
No, you can't pass it.
Okay,
You can give one to me so I can include it in the minute, but you can't pass it out.
okay.
It has to be on the agenda.
If you include it. Can I pass them after the meeting?
You can do whatever you want with them after the meeting.
Okay. I'll give it to you after. the meeting.
So, too, go ahead.
Make sure that you all hang around.
The subject of EDU is continuous and a potentially costly topic. The online WPCA should develop a method for recovery of infrastructure cost and possibility of usage fees as well. The method should make sure everyone is charged fairly and no one is overcharged. We should consider that the final construction cost will depend on the cost of engineering, contractor labor, plus materials. The finished result will bring the inlet and the sewer pipe to each building, including in this project, so that every building can have access to the sewer system, no matter the building size, location, assessment, usage, and any other considerations. This will allow every building to be fully compliant with the state health code. This type of construction infrastructure would benefit every property equally without discrimination, and since there is an order for the state DEP to stop pollution in our town, this system will make sure that no one can avoid being hooked up to the sewer pipe. To be fair to everyone, I believe there should be no difference in price between commercial and residential buildings, unless the commercial building has public bathroom. And also, there should be not two EDUs charged to mixed use commercial properties unless they have public bathrooms. This is my opinion, and I am asking WPCA members to consider those points. Respectively, Dmitry Tolchinsky, member WPCA since 1997.
How does that affect the mixed? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying about mixed and I'm saying about commercial properties.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask, what is the difference in the value or what between commercial property and residential property? I have a garage that I cannot put residential property in my garage. I would be glad, would be more valuable to have residential property instead of garage commercial. I cannot do that. It's the zoning does not allow.
That because of zoning
And my garage is commercial.
and that's zoning.
And I have two buildings here. I'm sorry, I'm talking about myself.
Yes, you are.
And there are many other properties like mine that has a commercial and residential use. So this is my point.
So isn't this more of a zoning issue, Dimitri? So if you went to zoning and you got your zoning changed, then you could get
You
your
can't
use
change
changed.
zoning without approval zoning board of appeals.
All right, but that's different than us. We're talking about a type of property, the way it currently is. And there's a lot of mixed zoning, which is an enhancement to anybody on Hartford Ave. Commercial zoning gives you a lot more.
Why it should be more use on a commercial property than on residential? Tell me, why?
I can take that
Yeah, we could,
because your assessed value will be higher.
There
Because the commercial use of that property, hotel, rental apartments, is allowed on a commercial property. And so the assessment of increased value to that property is more than it would be on a residential property.
You were talking now about assessed value, and before you said it doesn't matter assessed value. You're changing yourself.
No, I'm not.
You
No.
told-
Dimitri, you asked why. The
You
formula didn't change.
Do you remember?
The formula has not changed between commercial properties.
Do you-
It's the same.
Do you remember saying at the meeting
Yes.
that Dmitry should not be considered that way because I don't have a public bathroom in this.
but you could,
You don't have a.
You
you
don't.
could,
You don't.
but you could.
Your
You just
property
choose not
could.
to
Your
use it.
property,
Here,
it's not a personal thing.
I'm not. telling you not to vote. You can vote whatever you feel. I feel this way, I'm saying. And this is my point, and I said, and I read it to you.
Yes, and we respect
And
your
you decide-
point, but you're not seeing the bigger picture. That's some of the problem here is we're not looking at the bigger picture. In 25 years from now, that property could house 8 units.
You should consider what's today, not.
You can't consider that when you're building a system like this.
No, you
You
should.
can't consider just that.
No,
when
you
you're
should.
building.
You're talking again about 25 years from now.
Because we're protecting, we're looking at the town as a whole. We're protecting the town. We're protecting our.
But it become commercial too. And you can use it for commercial.
Then at that point, I will have to do.
But why don't you charge now? In 25 years, your car will become.
That's not,
I mean,
that's not working for me.
So Dimitri, we asked Dennis and Mary to come up with an EDU system. And you were on it. Yes, you were.
No, this group.
However,
You did the EDU group.
No, he bailed on us after the first meeting.
right, well, so in any event, they came up with a system that we're voting on now. And I gave you the reason why commercial property is being allotted more, and it's because of the potential of the property once it gets sewers. How much, I mean, we can't say that a residential property is going to increase $100,000 because it has to be reasonable. What we're trying to do here is determine what's a reasonable amount. You have a commercial property that once a sewer goes by, I'm sure is worth more than it was before the sewer goes by. And so Yes, Rob.
Well, and ultimately, we're voting on a system. We're not voting on your individual property. If you have an issue with how your individual property is gonna get assessed, then when the time comes, which is after the ordinance is in place, you can appeal it. So you shouldn't be bringing this up because of your individual property. You should be bringing up what you have concerns about with the system and how the system is applied to all properties. Because that's
You do
what
it.
regulates the system.
So, and I want to make sure that, the motion is correct. This is a system to determine EDU values to properties. It has nothing to do with the cost of an EDU. We can say, so there is a component that we're missing, which is a connection fee. Now, we could roll the connection fee into the EDUs, or we could take it out and an EDU would be worth less. But there are going to be connection fees for people that haven't been, that haven't connected, or have a vacant lot that want to connect. There's a connection fee. I mean, that's a normal thing. So this is a overall way of determining EDUs. The next step would be how we want to assess the EDUs. Do we want a component of a connection fee, the assessed value, and this is what you're gonna owe? We can allow maybe to move the connection fee into a long-term loan, so it's just divided out evenly like it would be here, or you could just pay the connection fee up front. And then, so there's a number of other steps, but this is a calculation to determine the value, EDU value of each property in our district. And so, we don't have Erica here to repeat the motion, but could we refine the motion so that we know exactly what we're voting on?
I said that the motion to approve the system as developed by the EDU calculation system as developed by Dennis and Mary.
All right, very good. And it was seconded by, is there any further discussion on this?
But the only thing we said we were gonna add the count.
Oh, right, is, yeah, so
And one lot.
add one lot for 290.
And the caveat that there'd be an assessment if the land was used differently. It would be.
No, we won't put that in. It's
Yeah.
just appealable. 290 Shore Road.
Well, I think we have to make
So
sure
it'd
it's
be,
in the
the
minutes.
total EDUs would be 270.
Yeah,
But I think it has to be in the minutes so
Correct.
someone is aware that, you know, they're gonna be assessed if it's more than one for this calculation system.
I don't think there should be an motion.
It was in the discussion, so it will show.
And it will show. It'll be in our ordinance. And I'm sure we'll see a lot of people. All right, I'm gonna call the motion. All in favor of approving the motion with the additional EDU, please say aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Corey, aye. Rob, aye. Andrea, aye. Dennis abstains, which technically you should have a reason for abstaining. Conflict of interest.
I just don't feel that all the information is there to give an okay to it.
That's okay.
Dimitri? Are you up?
Again,
Mary's a
Against.
voting member and she left the meeting.
I didn't swear. I didn't swear in.
They swore at me downstairs a lot, the last month or so,
Sorry about
trying to get my FOI information.
No, I get sworn in, that's,
Right. We had,
Oh, that's right.
I don't, I didn't see you.
Oh, so wait a minute.
I haven't seen it.
I didn't vote.
Right, he hasn't voted.
But since Mary,
Since Mary's out, Randy's out also. I probably should have, seated both. I haven't, and, I don't have to unless I don't have a quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a quorum, so I don't necessarily have to see.
You don't have a quorum.
I don't have a
You
quorum.
Well, the people that voted. Yeah.
I have a quorum of the people that
Including
vote.
you.
No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What 5? I voted against it.
Okay,
He didn't want.
But that's still a quorum. That's.
so he abstained.
5 members. The motion passes 3-2.
You vote.
I don't vote.
3-1.
3-1 with 1 abstention.
Yeah.
Okay, 3-1 with 1 abstention.
Four.
All right, I would like to thank, I would like to thank Mary. I would like to thank Mary and Dennis for developing, I think, a fair and equitable system.
You're fair, you're changing your mind.
I disagree with you, but
It's a basis.
Come on.
you can say
I
that.
don't know why you're upset about it.
Wait. The meeting's not adjourned. New business. I would like, Mary and, I guess Mary with Dennis, I don't know if she mentions Dennis in the email, has requested some things, and I have to publicly, I think, respond to these because, I think it needs to be, responded to in a public manner. It starts by saying, just reviewing the minutes from the March 2025 WPCA meeting. On March 15th, 2025, Dennis and I provided you with a draft of EDU calculations and modifications that you and the WPCA board requested. We asked that you request the WPCA clerk to make paper copies if required for distribution at the April 2025 meeting and to distribute the spreadsheet to the entire WPCA board for review. Please follow up on this. Dennis and I asked for an accounting of the 4.1 million that Chairman Pendergast had publicly stated in a 2022 CT Examiner press release had been spent on the sewer project, and you stated you would ask Frank Noe for that accounting. Please include that accounting or Frank's response to the agenda for the April 2025 WPCA meeting. We asked for a copy of the current report that was commissioned in 2020 by Prendergast with a $25,000 retainer, and you responded, please contact the town IT person, Tom, I think, and request access to the WPCA Google Drive. You could go through all of the files that I'm aware, and I not have to request anything from me. We did. Tom Meyer knows nothing about a WPCA Google Drive, but we were able to obtain a copy of the report from Curran, which we sent to you. Please share that report with the rest of the WPCA board. Dennis and I told you we identified several errors in the SV sewer diagrams. These will require change orders, and we believe that expense should be identified and included in the build and EDU formula, as should the cost of the Dot Bridge reconstruction and the cost to retain police on 156 for traffic flow, since those costs were not included in the bids. We also believe that contractual fees to connect to East Lyme and New London should be included in EDU calculations, since these are fixed fees required for the build and not dependent on usage or flow. You must contractually connect to the complete construction, even if all properties in the Soundview Area B opt to delay hooking up their private properties for several years. Please address these issues at the April WPCA meeting. Please let me know if there's anything further you need from me or Dennis, DOT bids, etc., prior to the April meeting so we can be of service. Thank you, Mary Daly. All right, so I did pass out copies of the summary and EDU calculation sheets as requested. Number 2. I am not Rich Prendergast and will not answer for him. As I indicated in the last meeting, I believe Rich was referring to all funds expended by the beach associations and O-Line WPCA. I do not intend to request, nor do I believe it is appropriate, to request internal funding information from 3 entities that do not have to account to the Oline WPCA nor the town. Concerning the shared infrastructure, I have provided the anticipated cost for our share based on data provided by Frank Noe. Those figures are itemized in the revised referendum summary that I passed out earlier tonight. As far as the other costs that have been paid to the CSA, we as a group have reviewed and approved all invoices sent by the CSA to allow Oline WPCA to become a full member. There is no need to provide this information as it has been reviewed and was paid out of Oline General Fund, which is borne by all the taxpayers at Oline. It will not be added to the cost of the project. The Kern report is not relevant to our discussion on EDU calculations or any other business that we may have. It was performed in 2020 prior to reevaluation. The assessment of each house will be determined by a combination of EDUs and tie-in fees that will be determined by the Oline WPCA after open review and discussion. If any member wants to review the report, let me know and I will provide it to you. Number 4, I don't even know where to begin on this last item. No contract has been signed and therefore no change order can be written. Change orders as a whole are accounted for as a contingency in our contract, but there are many items that are included in the contract that may not be used, such as rock removal, unsuitable fill, etc. We do not need to include any of these costs from the bridge work being performed on 156 since we are not the funding party. Old Colony Beach WPCA is the funding and administering the contract. We, as a WPCA, have decided not to include East Line and New London hookup fees into the project costs as they are soft costs that are payable over a 20-year period and can be billed as part of the annual costs. I would like to take, Dennis and I, sound view errors. I would like to take this time to review protocol for the WPCA. Only the chairman is allowed or vice chair if the chair is not available to carry on and represent the WPCA in business and media. Individual members are not supposed to contact our attorneys, engineers, consultants, etc. without obtaining permission from the chair. This group cannot function if anyone feels free to speak to and request information from anyone that they want whenever they want. I am aware that one member had contacted Woodward and Kern requesting information on the DOT bridge project. Woodward and Kern has nothing to do with the DOT bridge project and is not the engineering firm that developed the shared infrastructure plans. Members are supposed to respect the chain of authority and should not be contacting outside entities that the WPCA does business with. So I've been asked many times for complete accounting of this project by members of this committee. I've tried my best to give a complete accounting of the project. I have given this new summary based on all available information that I have at the moment on what it's going to cost to go out to referendum. Not cost, but what the referendum should be and what the loan value will be at the end of the project. I don't know how much money we've actually spent on the project. It depends on how you account. We have a general fund that's budgeted every year by the Board of Finance that we spend money from. A lot on attorneys, a lot on consultants, a lot on really a lot on attorneys. That's most of our expense. Those attorneys are employed to review documents related to the project. Are they direct project expenses or do they go against our duties as a WPCA to follow what the state is asking us to do? I don't know, but it doesn't matter to the people of Sound View because those costs are being borne by all the taxpayers in Oline. They're not going to be forwarded on in any part of a yearly assessment. The assessment data is in revised referendum summary. It's what will be included in the referendum. It's what's going to be included in the project and what's going to be financed by CWF funding. I don't know. I don't even know if we have all the data in town. If anyone wants that accounting, you have to go to the town. I don't keep books at my house. I have none of those things. If you want that information, contact Anita, contact Martha, contact BJ Bluebomb. I don't have that data. You could look at our financial data for the years that we have it and see how much we spent and say probably 95% of that could be allocated to the project. I don't know of an exact way of telling you exactly how much money has been spent going forward. I don't have Old Lyme Shores, Old Colonies, or Miami Beach's internal infrastructure plans. I can't speak for Rich, except to say the 4.1 million, I believe, was a combined total of all entities doing all their projects. I will never be able to account for that money because 2/3 of it isn't ours. They have no reason to supply us that data. I do have data. It's a contract with Fuss and O'Neill of $1,616,773. That is their cost for design and administration of the internal infrastructure. Frank, forwarded that to me today. So that is a cost that's included in our accounting. The other miscellaneous expenses we've approved as a board and have paid as a town. That's as much as I can give at this moment. As far as saying that I would provide an accounting of the $4.1 million, that is absolutely incorrect. I never said that. What I said is I will start asking Frank Noe, which I did, to start forwarding the bank statements for the shared CSA bank account so that we know what's going in and what's coming out. That's all I have to say.
And town records have been purged. We only have 3 years. I tried to dig through them myself.
But it doesn't matter because those are general funds and will not be borne by individual Soundview residents as the project goes forward. So the relevant information we have, we know exactly how much or pretty close to right now what the cost will be. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Yes, Rob.
We're not done the referendum.
You wanted to add an item or?
The referendum.
Oh, the referendum. Thank you very much. So I would like a motion. I would like, thank you very much. I would like a motion to add to the agenda, a motion to approve the revised referendum summary, to approve the revised referendum summary amount of 14 million. Let's round it up to $14 million. And then request the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance to go out to referendum for that amount.
So I say yes to the motion to add to the agenda and then yes to the motion.
Well, we have to get added to the agenda first. Does someone second?
Yeah, motion seconded.
Okay, thank you.
Did the referendum added to the agenda? Does anyone say no? Everyone say yes?
Yeah, all those in favor? Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then
Can you do the 25% thing in your spreadsheet? Are you able to edit it?
let's see if I can.
Change it.
No, I carry it over. It doesn't.
Just do it on your laptop.
I carried it over.
Wrong.
I carried the 22 million, Rob, at the bottom.
Yeah,
I carried that through to 11 million. So, and then multiply by 2.97. Right? You see that?
I'm saying,
yeah, it's on the right hand
Yeah.
side. It's right.
not sure.
What did I do here? 25%, 25%. .5%.
The contingency with it.
That means that's in now, Matt, what?
That doesn't make sense. This should
It's good that way.
equals. Oh. equals, $4.91.
Okay, I didn't check it in the opposite direction. I'm good with it.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, it stayed the same. Yeah. All right, so,
So we can make a motion.
so now we can make a motion to 14
Send
million
it to new referendum.
new referendum. You making that motion, Rob?
Yes.
So a second? Aye. All in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, yeah, this discussion, I'm sorry.
What happens to the 9.44? It's already
9.5.
9 well, it's
Do we add to that, Martha, or do we?
Well, you mean in addition?
No, we need an additional 9.5.
because that's already on the books.
Okay, we're going. 4.5 million. All right. To ask for an additional, it's not.
We don't. It's a good, it's a good.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Percents now.
All right. Is there any discussion?
How does that, you put a referendum on 4.5, but we're not gonna spend 4.5. It's gonna look really less,
Well, because we're gonna spend 4.5,
but we're gonna get that. That's gonna be, that's gonna be.
So we're going to spend 14 million, really. We're gonna spend 13,756,877.80. That's,
But the town old line out of pocket is gonna.
the town of Lime out of pocket pays nothing. It's all, no,
Technically, we're gonna spend 13,756, but we're gonna get
That, that's gotta be in the referendum somehow.
$6 million.
we're gonna get back 50% of that. But more than that, we don't even,
That's fine.
we don't even spend the money. We don't bond the money. The bond, this is just a strictly spending authority. It's not even bonded by the town. It's backed up by CWF. Right. Correct.
It's not much at all.
Right. Well, they come up with something to explain it. Correct.
Yeah, I think the way it's presented, Jim, is really important.
But I think that what we say is, we're looking for authority to spend up to $14 million with state matching funds, reducing it to 7.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't reduce it down to 7 because that's why the internal, the shared infrastructure is separated out. But in general, yes, I mean, we should be very clear on our final liability of this project and not just say we need to request to spend that. Is there any other discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Bauxite plant.
Dioxide, yes.
Plan is to put it on Gorton Avenue Extension.
The plan is wherever it shows on the plan, yes.
Okay, well, that's not what Old Lime Shores is doing. They have a legal document that says it can't be there.
Dennis,
And I mentioned
Dennis,
this to
Dennis,
Martha.
Dennis, I went through this with zoning, wherever it's shown on the plan, we have approval of via zoning.
There'll be a lawsuit about that. And will that, because now it's, in actuality, it's saving money because it's less, the pipe is within 20 feet of the force main
I don't know, Dennis.
versus, you know where the red house is, the 290?
Dennis,
Right there.
I'm sorry, but I don't even know how this,
But I'm saying, these are things that, we find out this information. It
Well, we
doesn't-
don't even know it.
right, I don't know it. You're telling me this, someone against putting sewers in is telling me that we can't put the dioxide where we have,
It was me.
I've read,
I said it's on Lime Shores.
Okay, hold on. We have a motion on the table. Let's vote on that.
all I'm saying is someone that's against sewers is telling me, you're against sewers and you're telling me.
Said you could put the bioside station there, so one said, hey, you could do it, and they reviewed that property, it was for recreational use. There are people from Old Lyme Forest who do not feel that a bioside station is recreational use. And therefore, there's two differing opinions from two different lawyers.
How does this affect the referendum?
Just saying, how does it affect the project? If it did?
So, this is, it is draining to go through this on a monthly basis. You're bringing up stuff that, number one, I'm not aware of, and number two, is not my responsibility to figure out. You want me to talk about hypotheticals? If we can't put the dioxide anywhere, I don't know. Maybe you put it in East Lyme. I have no clue, Dennis. But I'm not the
I'm just
engineer.
saying,
I'm telling you that
for an
I've looked
organization
at
that is
a
putting
document.
the price tag
I've looked at a
Three dots here.
document that shows
Wait,
that
no,
we have
no.
zoning approval for that
The
location.
price of this goes on all of us here, the four of us. Not the rest of the room, the four of us. So consequently, if I have a question about what happens with the biox station, if Old Lyme Shore is telling you to get it off my property, where are you gonna put it and how much is it gonna cost? Obviously, it's gonna be a change in Fuss and O'Neill's plan. And if it's a change in Fuss and O'Neill's plan, and they've already assigned a low bidder, does it become a change order? And if it becomes a change order, how much is it gonna be the difference? That's all. That's all I was questioning. I'm not, whether I'm here as a proponent or an opponent of sewers. I'm here for the residents of Sound View.
Right,
Not for
and
you,
I'm
but
here
for
for
the
all of the
residents of
town,
town.
as well as you should be. I don't believe your oath that Mary said that you're gonna represent only Sound View in Area B. I believe it said that you were gonna represent the town.
And don't you think that that's a valid question to ask?
I think
About money.
I think it's a concern. I think I don't have any documentation except for the document
Okay.
that I reviewed with zoning that says we have permission via zoning to put the dioxide where it's designed. You're telling me about some other document that it wouldn't be a lawsuit between us and Old Lyme Shores. It sounds like it's an internal thing with whether the president had validity to sign that agreement or not.
But
I don't know.
What I'm saying is.
This is construction.
Let me finish. Whether or not it's true or not, it can affect the project. And whether you like it or not, I'm here because I am a resident of Soundview. And it was Martha that put Mary and I on here so we could represent Soundview because there was nobody else to do it.
All right, so
We have a motion on the table.
we have a motion on the table. We have a motion on the table to increase the referendum amount by $4.5 million to request the Board of Selectmen to go out to referendum. Is there any more discussion?
You wanted to be.
No. All right, I'm gonna close off discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
All right, so, the ayes have it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, one abstention, which is Dennis Muzo. Can I motion to adjourn?
Please.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.